I remember I thought that everything about life was supposed to be perfect. The perfect relationship, perfect friends, have all the money, the perfect job. And then all of a sudden, life was lifing, and it just wasn't making sense. Why are these things happening? Where did these babies come from? Yes, I got pregnant with my first child at the age of 20. And no, I was 19, and I birthed my child at the age of 20. I had no idea. I really didn't think I could get pregnant. I was like, oh, I can't get pregnant. That's not going to happen to me. And then when it did happen to me, I was very, very disappointed in myself. I went into a depression. I think I probably even suffered with some anxiety, but I felt like I had destroyed my life. I thought that everything about my life was over. I was not happy, and I had very low self-esteem, hated what I saw in the mirror. I remember my sister's husband came to me one day and he said, would you please start being yourself again, because you're depressing my wife, which is my sister. I said, what you mean? And he was like, she said, you're not yourself. She said that you would never dress like this and look like this. I had lost so much weight. After I had my son, my focus became my son, my first child. It became my son. My son became my focus. And I wanted to do everything for him. I wanted to give him the world. I worked 3 jobs. I was working 3 jobs just to give him the world. But I think really and truly, I was working those 3 jobs, trying to give him the world, because I was trying to fill a void. I was trying to make myself feel like I was worthy and valuable, and trying to overcompensate for my low self-esteem. Because like I said, I had low self-esteem. I was not proud of myself at all. And by seeing my son with nice toys and nice clothes and nice shoes, I think in my head, I felt like I was doing something. Again, overcompensating for how I was really feeling on the inside. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't sleeping very well, because at night I was too busy crying, thinking about the things I had done and where I could have been. And if I didn't have this baby, I would have been in college, and what would my life be like? And I'm with this man and he's cheating on me, and I'm feeling horrible. I'm feeling everything. Oh my goodness. Don't even get me started with the relationship. I really was regretting the relationship that I was in. For the most part, he was a great guy, the guy I was dating. He was not my son's father, but he was somebody that couldn't have children, and he took a liking to my son. And kind of like what I was doing, I was feeling that void of having low self-esteem through my son. He was feeling that void of not being able to be a parent, or I guess not being able to have a child. He was feeling that void through being there for me and my son. So while he was being wonderful to my son, he wasn't being good to me. He was out there in them streets. He was talking to other women and entertaining other women. But if I said, oh, my son needs this, oh, he showed up. He always showed up. He always came through for my son. So I began to use my son basically like in a way of saying, hey, I have a need, and if you're able to do these things, then this is how my son benefits. And then he would just, always make it his priority to be there, which some may say, well, that's manipulation. We were in a relationship, but he just wasn't showing up in a way that he should have, especially with him saying he wanted to marry me. But I really don't think that he wanted to marry me. I think he just wanted to be a father to my son. I believe that he didn't want to lose the facade of a family that we had going on, and yet he still wanted to do him. But this ain't about him. This is about me. We're talking about me and my struggles and the way we sometimes feel voids in our life through our situation, our circumstance, how we try to overcompensate for the issues in our heart. So I was dealing with low self-esteem. I was dealing with depression. I felt like I had no value. I felt like I had no worth, all because I had a baby out of wedlock. 20 years old with a baby out of wedlock. My mom even came to me and she told me how disappointed in me she was. Before I got pregnant, I was in college on a dean's list. I was focused. I knew what I wanted. I was going to be an attorney. I was going to make a lot of money. I was going to live in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, I had my life planned out to a T, and I was on my way to get what it was that I wanted. But the truth is, while I was trying to overcompensate for what I felt like I was lacking within myself, the presence of my son was also bringing healing to me. And the way it brought healing to me was because the love of a child is pure. And the way he saw me was in pureness, if that's even a word. It was just pure. He loved me for me, whether I was right or whether I was wrong. He loved me for me. His hugs were genuine. His kisses were genuine. Him wanting to be in my presence was genuine. I didn't have to give him anything. I didn't have to manipulate him. I didn't have to bribe him. He wanted to be with me. He loved his mom, and I loved him. I loved him. So I believe that, little did I know, I was lacking an understanding of what love truly was. And I believe that the Lord allowed me to birth my son, my firstborn, to teach me what love is and how it looks. Because when a person loves, when they genuinely love, you don't have to give them anything for them to show up. They show up because they want to be there. They help because they want to help. It's not, and I don't think that what I was, and I mean, there is no way that my 1-year-old son, my 2-year-old son was fulfilling anything by coming and giving me a hug or giving me a kiss and saying that he loves me. He wasn't fulfilling nothing. He didn't know. It was new to him. The world was new to him. He was learning. He was experiencing this thing called life. So he didn't. You see what I'm saying? Like, there was no void he was filling. It was pure. And I believe that love, when it's genuine love, it is pure. It's not, you're not looking to reciprocate anything. You're just there because I choose to love. Now, I'm not talking about these relationships. I'm not talking about a relationship where a person says, oh, I'm here because I love him. And y'all over there going through some stuff and it's not even God ordained. I'm not talking about that kind of because that's not love. That is a form of perversion. That's lust, and manipulation can be all up in that. But I'm not judging no one's circumstance, especially from my seat. I haven't heard your story, none of those things. Today's conversation is not about that. Today's show is not about that kind of love. I'm talking about how we try to fill these voids in our life. And you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. How to try to fill voids in our life. And I didn't have a baby. I didn't go trying to make a baby. That was not what I was doing. I believe the Lord allowed me. Because whatever happens in your life, God allows. I believe God allowed me to have a baby because he knew that I was chasing love, and he knew that I desired to be loved. But he was showing me what love really is, and the pureness of love. And he showed me that through a child. A child's ability to just show up. The Bible teaches us that children are a reward. And sometimes we can find ourselves frustrated with kids because we feel like they're in our way. Oh, I don't know why this child is here. I don't know what happened. And I know some days, I'm not going to lie, I was like, at first when I was pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? What am I doing? What am I going to do with a baby? How am I taking care of this baby? Oh, I had so many thoughts going through my head. But out of it all, I can honestly say that the presence of a child teaches you so much about yourself, and they remind you of what you once were and what you can be, because they're so pure, they're so genuine. I have 3 children. I have an 18-year-old son, that's my firstborn, a 15-year-old daughter, and I have a 5-year-old son. And my daughter, when she comes to me and she talks to me about her friends, her friendships, and how they don't always work out, I'm like, girl, just forget. I used to tell her, girl, forget them friends. It is what it is. They probably not even, genuine or real anyway. And I would ask her, I remember asking her one day, I said, why does it matter if you and this person are friends? And she said to me, Mama, because I want to be their friend. And it wasn't a, well, she does this for me, or they do that for me, or this person gives me this, and this person, it was none of those things. It was a pure response of, I choose, I want to be her friend. Man. Like, and it's the same thing with God. God lets us know that there's nothing that we can give him, do for him, offer to him, that's going to make him love us or choose us any more than he already does now. His love for us is not going to change, all because we messed up, said the wrong thing, or we didn't do something a certain kind of way. He may not be pleased with our behaviors, but God's love for us is pure, it is genuine, it is real. It is perfect. And the presence of a child equates to perfect love. The presence of a child equates to the love of our Heavenly Father. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing how the Lord takes his purity and wraps it up and sends it, delivers it to us through the womb of a mother? That is powerful, that is genuine, that is beautiful. I love being a mother. I love being a parent. I love watching my children grow and develop. Love it. And as parents, we have to be careful to nurture our children in the way of the Lord, which means that we must pray and ask God to teach us how we are to raise our children, ask him who they are, what has he purposed them to be, and seek God to give us the wisdom and knowledge on how to teach our children according to his will. Lord, what kind of sports is this child supposed to play? What kind of books should I read to this child? What kind of schools should this child attend? Who should they be allowed to be friends with? What kind of people should they encounter? Can they interact? What kind of places should they go and not go? This is important. And these are things that I believe that as parents that we don't consider. The first thing we do is run to a book, a parenting handbook. I'm not against those, but what I am saying is these children have come from God. They've come from God. They're not given to us to fill a void. I believe that God has given children to us to not only show us his genuine and true and pure love, but also he uses these children to allow us to see ourselves. To see ourselves, the issues in our hearts, the issues that we have. So we have to approach parenting from a place of teaching and training. God is teaching us as we are teaching them, and they're also teaching us. They're teaching us and reminding us of what's already on the inside of us. They're reminding us of those passions that we once had. There are some things that you used to do that you stopped doing. And then you see your child doing it, and then you're like, oh, I remember when. And I just believe that, their very presence, the very presence and essence of our children brings healing, can bring healing to our natural minds and our spirit as well. So, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. Let's not use our children and see them as burdens, see them as being in the way or a mistake, because that's not their intended purpose. That's the enemy speaking to you, trying to keep you in bondage, not wanting you to develop a relationship with your child, wanting to play on the issues in your heart from different things that you've gone through and dealt with in your life. That's the goal of the enemy. But the goal of God, the purpose of God, the power of God brings healing, deliverance, breakthrough. And my prayer for you today is that God would just teach you and show you the way in which He is calling you to parent and to live a life to your fullness. To your fullness. I am Rachiel the Equipper. Until next time, be blessed.